Hey everybody, World War Guy here today, and today I just wanted to do a video on my entire Canteen collection. And I think it's safe to say that I have a lot more canteens than I had realized. Canteens, I love collecting canteens. Right after helmets is probably my favorite item to collect. One, because they're usually on their cheaper end compared to some helmets. Two, they're smaller, easier to store. And three, there's just a lot of cool designs and a lot of unique markings on them. As we will see soon enough, soldiers back in the day, or in general, took the liberty to mark their canteens as much as they liked. So that being said, we're going to look at every single canteen. Won't go into too much detail because then this will be a very long video, but we'll look at some interesting aspects and markings on every canteen, and as well as the overall design. So that being said, let's begin looking at the canteens individually. All right, let's begin with probably my nicest canteen out of the entire collection. This original World War II, actually pre-World War II, German canteen. Now, if you have seen my update video, you can see better details of the canteen. But basically, get away. Okay, well, we're gonna have a fly in the episode. I hope you guys are okay with that. Basically, this whole canteen is matching to the same maker and year, and it is in pristine, almost pristine condition. On top of the cap, the flask, the cover, as well as the cup are all marked to the same maker and year. And then we even have a separate marker or maker for the hook. So this canteen, as you can see, there's almost no paint missing on the cup. Beautiful condition. It just makes an excellent collection piece. Next up here we have a World War II German flask dated 1939 and the cup 1938. And you can see it's just riddled with different cities all over Europe, or mostly about 3 or 4 countries in Europe. Nonetheless, you have Belgium, you have France, you have Germany, you have, I believe, the Netherlands as well. I just cannot find a city right now on it, but very, very cool. Honestly, this is just a cool piece. And you don't see a lot of German items marked like this. You do see a lot of American stuff. So it is possible this was captured by an American, but nonetheless, it's a German item with lots of markings on it. Next, we have a World War I German canteen. Now, this one's a bit rough shape. As you can see, someone tried repairing the cover here. That's why there's no snaps. The cap is actually broken. I don't know how that's even possible. And it is very rusted inside. You'll just have to believe me. Nonetheless, very cool, and for something over 100 years old, it still holds up nicely. Here we have a German coconut canteen, as it kind of resembles a coconut. These are often mistakenly associated with the Africa Corps, while in reality, almost no one was issued a coconut canteen while in North Africa. Maybe in the very late stages, 1 or 2 soldiers had it, but these are most commonly seen in Sicily, Italy, and in Russia, as well as anywhere during the end of the war. Nonetheless, very cool. Here we have another continental German canteen. This is the one that was most commonly seen. Now this one, as you can see, it is missing some straps, or it's missing the hook and the strap to attach to the canteen, or the cap. Nonetheless, very nice piece. It is a 1938 dated one, so it is an early canteen, and despite the straps missing and some holes in the cover, still a pretty cool canteen if you ask me. Here's another canteen. This one's in worse shape. You can see it has a field repair here, tearing at the seam there. The strap is just completely destroyed. I mean, this is all that's left of the strap. And you can see a fairly large tear at the back. This one is a 1939 dated one. I believe the flask is the same date as well. Now here we have another complete continental set. The only issue with this one is it is a mixture of different parts. So the cover, the cup, possibly the strap, and the cap are all original World War II items. The only issue is the flask on the inside is 1955 dated. The hook is 1940 dated, but the strap itself, the leather is such good condition that I'm a little skeptical of it. So it could be a post-war item. Nonetheless, nice display piece. And then to top it all off, we have another coconut canteen. Now, I've had people say that the cup is possibly a reproduction, as it has no markings on the back. And I think people were also saying that the straps may be of post-war issue as well. I'm not entirely sure. I did buy this when I was still learning or getting into collecting, so nonetheless, it is a nice item. This one is a 1943 dated one. And despite having some post-war items on it, it still displays very nicely. And then here we have an Austro-Hungarian canteen. This one's dated 1916, and these canteens are really neat. More on the expensive side, but very neat nonetheless. Very small, and they were basically made of aluminum, enamel. So you can see some rusting. There's a lot of chipping on the inside. And this one is incomplete, because normally you would have an enamel cup that would sit right under it. And then you would have a, I believe, leather strap at the top here with a cork. Mine just has this fancy lanyard. Not sure if this is period made or if this is something someone put on decades later. Nonetheless, adds color, so it's pretty neat. And there you can see the markings. Now here we have a model 1878 US canteen. Now this one's in very rough shape. The U is just about all faded away. The S is barely visible. There's multiple tears all over the canteen, a lot of rust stains. The whole flask is just completely rusted, and the cork is stuck in there unless you take a wine bottle opener and take it out. Chain is broken as well. But nonetheless, this is very cool because this is well over 100 years old. What is that, 140 years old approximately? So it's very cool, and I've always wanted something from pre-1900s, so this is what I got for the budget I had at the time. Now, before we get on to the complete sets of the US canteens, here we have some flasks. Now this one, as you can see, it is missing the cap and chain. It is a 1945 dated one, but I got this in a bundle, so for the price I paid for everything, this was basically a bonus. Here we have a nice example of a 1944 dated flask or a canteen with a post-war 1949 cup. Alright, now let's start in the back with some of the canteens there. Now this one is a well-used, so to speak, canteen. As you can see, one of the nipples is completely broken off. The canvas is tearing there. Otherwise, the cover itself is in decent condition in terms of there's no tears, no major stains anywhere. It is a 1918 dated cover with some markings, possibly a name there. Now the flask, as you can see, at some point someone put a random cap on the top. Chain is still there though, but of course attached to nothing. And it is a 1943 dated canteen. Alright, here we have another canteen. As you can see, this one has some stains on the front, but what's very cool is that it is marked. Photo section 112. It looks like it says 103 or 10100. Photo section 112, so very interesting. As far as I'm aware, it is a basically sort of a journalist or war correspondent. As you can see, this one's a bit difficult, but it does look like I can't even read the date on that. Maybe 1918? I'm not sure. And you can see it, his name, Albertus. Flask on the inside is marked possibly a Boy Scout because you have the, was it Johnson? Or, no, Joines? Joines maybe? And then you have 1040, so it could be a Boy Scout. But it is a 1942 dated flask. Now here we have a very, very beat up, abused, mistreated canteen and cover. As you can see, you have some major stainage at the bottom here. This could be some sort of mold residue or moisture residue. It could have been placed against some metal, so you have rust. There's just dirt all over it. The hook is missing. There's tears all over the flask or the cover, and you can't even see the US symbol on it. As you can see here, it is marked GG, good game. I'm not sure. And then you have Winston P with a Sharpie, but it is a I would assume 18 dated canteen. Now, of course, look at this. Now that's weird. Chain must have broke. Someone used a Band-Aid, it looks like, to keep it together. To say that this canteen was abused is an understatement. And it looks like it was a 1918 dated cover. All right, here we have a nice example. You do have some water stains of some sort there, some small tears here and there. But from what I've been told is that it is a 1918 Powers cover, and apparently these are not very common, of what I've been told by other collectors. So, despite the stains and certain tears, very nice piece. And of course, inside I just have this commercially made canteen that was used by a Boy Scout. Nothing special about that. Alright, and here we have a World War II British made canteen cover. Now, British made was not issued to the British soldiers, but it was made in Britain for American soldiers. So you can see you have a usually greener color. The stitching on the front is a different number. And the canvas type is also slightly different. So you can see 1944, and on the stitching it is in printed British made. Very hard to see, but because of the different characteristics of the cover, it's easy to know that it is British made. Another factor to see is that the inside, instead of a gray lining, it would be a white lining. So that's another sign that it is a British made cover. And on the inside, I just have a 1944 dated canteen, which is in very good condition. Look how brand spanking new this looks. Alright, here we have a 1940 World War II U.S. Marine Corps canteen cover. This is the third pattern, otherwise known as the dog ears or rabbit ears. As you can see, it's very different than what we have seen as the flaps crisscross over each other. Why? I'm sure someone's going to say so it's more secure, but this is secure enough. So, very interesting. But it's very cool. Now this one, as you can see, it's been torn up quite a bit. If you ask if it was my fault, I would rather not respond. Now these Marine Corps covers were actually unlined. There was no lining inside, so it is normal to find it just canvas made. And inside I have a 1943 canteen. And here's another canteen in cover. Nice cover. I like this color of canvas. 1943. I believe this is my only 1943 cover that I have. And on the inside, I have a nice 1918 dated canteen. That beauty. And here we have another canteen cover. Now you may notice that some covers look a lot bigger than others. I do have a separate video explaining the differences, so if you want to check that out, please do. But to keep this video short, I won't go into too much detail. So here we can see a very crisp US marking on there. Someone did write their name, Kaiser. I believe this would be a post-war done item, maybe a Boy Scout or a kid playing. Scott manufacturer, and I believe the date would have been under here, but it appears to have been worn away. And on the inside, we have this nice blown canteen. So as you can see, there's no seam down the middle anywhere. And these are earlier patterns. As you can see, there's also no date on them. And it was funny because when I bought the set, there was 2 canteen sets. I didn't even realize this was one of the canteens available. So it was a very nice surprise. And here we have another British-made canteen cover. As you can see, only 4 rows of stitching. Now the color is pretty warm, but normally it would have been more of a gray color. And you can see it had some markings on the bottom, then marked over. A lot of markings there at some point. And there's the markings, very hard to see, but normally this would say British made. But yeah, it's almost impossible to see. And you can see the very worn white lining. It looks more like a gray color. And on the inside, I have an enamel canteen. Now this is very interesting. It is not made of steel, aluminum, any sort of metal like that. It is enamel, so porcelain basically. I might make a separate video explaining why these were even a thing, as they would chip very often, as you can see down there. So if you're interested to learn more about it, I will make a separate video. Just let me know in the comments if you're interested. You can probably see me in the reflection even. Alright, we hit the 20-minute mark, or we're about to hit the 20-minute mark, depending on my editing. So if you're still in this video, still sticking through it, thank you. Here we have another Marine Corps 3rd pattern canteen cover. This one's in better condition. See Wilcox on the bottom. And here we have another early blown canteen. This one has many dents. I don't know what happened to this canteen in its life, but it has definitely seen better days. All right, here we have another canteen. What a surprise. This one, it is a very faded 1943 canteen cover. It's very hard to see. I do have a cup on the inside, but I will not take it out because it is not easy, but it's probably a 1944 dated cup. And then here we have some sort of etching on the outside, but it is a 1918 dated canteen. All right, let's continue on this side. This canteen here, I believe it is a World War I dated one. I love the soiling at the top there, and it's clean, relatively clean at the bottom. And there we go. We have a 1918 dated cover with a 1918 dated canteen. As you can see, this one has a hole from some sort of corrosion from some point. Alright, in this canteen, looks like we have some unit markings 1 to 8. Not entirely sure which this would correspond to. But this one is, okay, we have a name, but this one is actually 1934 dated. So this was before World War II, and these are very uncommon since there wasn't a high demand for canteen covers, as many had been produced during World War I, so a lot of them were just reusing those. So it's interesting to see an early or an interwar period dated one. And as you can see, it had markings here at some point, or it has markings here because at some point they were going to attach loops to attach a canvas or leather strap around it, which is nicknamed the Cavalry Canteen. But at the end, they just have the typical hook there. This one is a 1942 canteen. And yes, this one has also been beaten up quite a bit. And for our last American canteen, we have this really nice pea green 1940 dated canteen cover. Now this is just a really cool canteen. It's good condition. You have a cool ass color. And then you have this very crisp 1918 dated flask. And then on the inside, it did come with a cup. I won't take it out, but if I remember correctly, it was a 1944 dated cup. And in terms of condition and complete canteen sets, this is definitely one of the better US ones I own. Alright, moving on to Japanese canteens. I love Japanese canteens. I just don't own more because they're not as common in the US and usually more expensive than I am happy to spend. So I have two very cool ones. I promise I can speak English. So here we have a nice Japanese flask. Unfortunately, it does have a sort of post-war stopper. Probably someone who used this for hiking replaced the original one. And then the strap, I've had someone tell me that this is probably sort of a post-war strap. But I do have a book, a reference book, that shows this strap, or at least something very similar. So I will post a picture in just a second here, if I can find it. But nonetheless, this is a very cool canteen. This was the first Japanese canteen I got. There are some markings on the bottom, but I won't show them right now. And then here we have a very nice example of a complete Japanese canteen. So this one you have your typical 2-row harness. You have a beautiful flask with plenty of markings on the bottom here. You have the original rubber stopper. Now this leather strap I did make myself and attached it. I did this because if I were to resell it, someone could just easily take this off and get rid of it. So it didn't actually affect negatively the canteen at all. In fact, it kind of looks nice, despite it obviously being brand new leather. And what's very cool about this canteen, if I can even show it, it has some kanji markings on there. Now, I don't know kanji. For all I know, I'm holding this upside down. So if I am holding it upside down, please let me know. And in case I was, Okay, no, this definitely looks more upside down. Yeah, this looks upside down. If anyone knows any kanji and would like to translate this for me, please let me know. I'm sure it is a soldier's name or something similar to that. But yeah, very cool canteen and just a beautiful piece. Okay, let's take a break from World War II canteens and look at some Cold War era ones. Alright, this is the Hungarian M70 canteen. This is just a cute little canteen. Look at this. You can like fit in your pocket. It holds enough water for a day's hike. I used to use this as my daily canteen. The only issue is with the aluminum rubbing against it here. Oftentimes, you would get markings on your lips, like black markings or something. If I can focus. So I stopped using it because every time I drink from it, I'd have these markings on my lips, and it kind of just looked a little weird. So yeah, it just has a little simple hook at the back there to hook into your belt or anything like that. But neat little canteen. And here we have a Soviet canteen. This is basically the exact same that was used throughout World War II into the Cold War with some minor cosmetic differences and maybe material differences. If I remember correctly, this is a 1989 dated canteen, so this is one of the last Soviet era canteens made. And you have that very distinctive Soviet poop color. Despite it looking like it, it's actually kind of a cool color. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Alright, going back to World War I, World War II era canteens, we have some French canteens. Surprisingly enough, my only French canteens are basically relic condition. But nonetheless, let's still look at them. Here we have a World War I French canteen. This is the, I think, half-liter variant. As you can see, it's smaller, but I think it's about half a liter. This one's in very rough shape, as you can see. Really not much to talk about. A quick fun story is the person I bought it from, he said that he found this at a theater that was closing, and they were basically selling all of their props, and this was one of the props hidden inside. So goes to show that you can find military at just about anywhere if you have the patience and a good eye. Now here we have a World War II, at least I was told World War II era flask or a canteen. This way, as you can see, it is marked. Can't really read the first name, but this looks to be Maurice. And the markings are pretty worn out. I can't read them too well. And you have again the name at the bottom. It looks like 695, some sort of number there. Probably a unit marking. And some glue to fix it. Now, I actually bought this on Facebook Marketplace, and the seller told me, now of course I didn't buy it for the story, I bought it for the object, but the seller did tell me that it was a veteran who picked this off the battlefield, and that's basically all I have from the story. Was it a German who picked it up and then an American captured it? Was it an American who found it abandoned in some barn? I don't know, but as far as I'm aware, it was a battlefield pickup from a veteran. You want to believe it, you can. I don't know. That's the story he gave me. That's the story I give people. All right, here we have two British canteens. This one, now I don't know my British canteens too well. This one was a gift, so I actually don't really, I don't know the reason for this pouch. This is what I'm more commonly familiar with. Dang. Okay, I'm back. Nonetheless, this is a very nice piece, very good condition. Although the wool here seems to be more of a reproduction just because of the condition. It looks brand new. As well as the cork looks new. But on the inside, definitely an original flask. This one's a green painted one and very rusty on the inside. And here we have your typical British style canteen. This one does have a separate strap so you can sling it around your shoulder. Although normally these would be attached to the whole harness set. But nonetheless, very neat. Now it is a 1942 dated one. It might not show on camera, but right there is a very faded 1942. Of course, that's the strap's date. Nonetheless, very nice canteen. I love the British pattern. It just looks very nice. Alright guys, we made it to our final two. If you're still watching, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you for sticking out this far. Now here we have a Cold War era Swiss canteen. Now, this is pretty neat. You just have your plastic bottle. I believe that's the year 1988. typical plastic bottle. And you have the soldier's ID tag, Thomas Müller, so this was a German-speaking soldier most likely, with his numbers. And of course you would twist this open to drink, but this right here would be for a gas mask attachment. So you attach the gas mask in here, and like that you'd be able to drink water despite wearing a gas mask. And then here we have a 1996 dated cup. And this is just a nice cup. It's like the German World War II style cup, but improved, because you can fit the canteen inside. And for our final canteen, we finally made it, guys. We made it to the end. We have this Yugoslavian canteen. I forgot the model number. Basically, you have this very nice pouch, and in here you'd contain this. Now, this is basically a canteen mixed with mess kit, but I still include it because it does have a canteen. Now, you have your markings here. This would basically say, do not put over fire, as this is plastic. But you have a nice size cup or bowl, and here you have a sort of drinking cup. And here you have your metal mess kit where you could cook or put it over a fire with. And this is your canteen. Now, I have been told by some people who know more than me that normally this canteen would be a reserve canteen. So this would not be your primary drinking source. You would have this maybe on the trucks or so on in your pack. And throughout the campaign, throughout the mission, throughout the hike, whatever you're doing, you would just drink sort of like water bottles. And then when you ran out of those water bottles and you needed something to drink, this is when you would take, this is when you would take water from this canteen. But of course, there are still belt loops here to hook it to your equipment if needed or if required. All right, and there you have it, guys. That was a long video. It took longer than I expected, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's been a while since I put all my canteens together, so it's nice to see them all on the table, and I'm surprised they were able to fit all on the table. But of course, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy canteens as much as I do, please drop a like, write a comment, tell me what your favorite canteen was. That'd be very interesting to know. I'm curious. Make sure to like and subscribe, but besides that, you guys have a wonderful day.